All that coming up in the next hour, but we begin this morning with the race to the White House. Both campaigns focusing on key battleground states before Election Day. Former President Donald Trump visited Pennsylvania over the weekend, where he seemed to work a shift at a local McDonald's that was closed down for his appearance. And people that came up to the drive-thru while Trump manned it were handpicked by the campaign. Trump was asked by CBS News if he would consider raising the minimum wage for workers, and he did not answer directly. Listen to this.
Well, I think these people work hard, they're great, and I just saw something, a process that's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to see. These are great franchises and produce a lot of jobs, and it's great. And great people working here, too.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, but who cares if they're not making a higher minimum wage than they are now? Vice President Harris, meanwhile, spent the birthday weekend campaigning in Michigan and Georgia. She talked about why she thinks it's important to respond to the remarks that Donald Trump, the disparaging remarks that Donald Trump makes about her.
He's becoming increasingly unstable and unhinged, and it requires that response. I think the American people are seeing it, witnessing it in real time. And we must take note of the fact that this is an individual who wants to be president of the United States.
All right, for the latest on the Harris and Trump campaigns, I want to bring in CBS News campaign reporters Nidia Cavazos and Libby Cathey. Libby, let me begin with you. So the former president made some comments that have been characterized as vulgar, including one about former pro golfer Arnold Palmer, where he discussed in quite some vivid detail for some, I don't know how long it was, Libby. It seemed to go on forever and ever about the private parts of the golfing great. What is the campaign saying about why the former president, rather than talking about policy, chose the time with those rally goers there to spend it talking about a man's personal baggage in the locker room?
Yeah, that's right, Vlad. Spending about 16 minutes at the top of his rally on Saturday off on this tangent, alluding to Arnold Palmer's anatomy there. Now, you know the campaign likes to let the former president speak for himself. They really don't like to clean up what he's already said. I will note that Jason Miller, one of the Trump senior's advisors, came over to the press pin on Saturday in Pennsylvania, where my colleagues Olivia Rinaldi and Jake Rosen were, and said that this speech would be the start of the closing message for the former president. So if that's any indication, well, the campaign definitely wants him to stay more on message, talking about immigration, the economy. But that's what he did this weekend. And on Sunday, Republicans on Sunday shows forced to answer for this did not want to talk about it. Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, very uncomfortable when presented with Trump's words. But the campaign letting the former president speak for himself, and he will be here in North Carolina today, hoping he stays a little more on the message they want him to be on when he makes a stop for hurricane recovery, has a rally, and an 11th hour meeting with faith leaders. Vlad.
Yeah, and I know, I get it, Libby. It's also silly for us to be talking about it because there's some really important issues at stake in this election. And I know that when the former president says something that's completely wackadoo, that the national media and all media spends time talking about it. But I do wonder if Vice President Harris had made similar comments, what that would have done. That probably would have derailed her entire campaign. So let's talk about these issues with Nidia, who's traveling with the Harris campaign. Nidia, on a more serious note, the campaign finance number shows that the vice president's campaign has raised over $221 million in September. The question, of course, is with all that cash, historic levels of cash that the vice president has raised since she jumped into the race, is it going to translate to those much needed votes that she needs, especially with those independent voters? I know that it's hard for us to imagine that there are people who will tell you, they'll tell Libby the same thing, that they're still undecided. Who can be undecided in this race? But clearly there are some. And I wonder if that money is going to help bring some of those folks over to the vice president's side.
Good morning, Vlad. Well, having the advantage with cash on hand here is always going to be helpful, especially as we're 2 weeks away from Election Day, and essentially this is a very tight race. But to your point that there are still many undecided voters, that is true, and that's an aspect that the Harris campaign is working daily to court these voters, and we're seeing it today as Harris campaigns across the blue wall states, specifically targeting these independent and more moderate Republicans who may not necessarily be sold on the idea of Trump just yet. But all of this money comes into play, and it's an advantage for Harris as this comes down to ads that are going to be playing across TV and across battleground states, trying to reach these voters, get out the vote events that are making sure that it's not only about courting the undecided voters, but that the Harris campaign is also making sure that her base is strong, and that they're also turning out. So this comes down to events in Detroit, for example, or big rallies in Atlanta, as we saw over the weekend.
Libby, let me ask you about Elon Musk, who is offering payments to swing state voters who sign a petition for his pro-Trump PAC. I know that he's asking and he's offering that money to people who sign this petition, but there's something about it. The notion that you would offer any kind of financial or monetary compensation for anything related to an election. I know it's not for the vote, it's to sign this petition, but it does strike me as the right to vote is one of the most cherished institutions that we have in this country. So many millions of people have died to protect it. It's not available for sale. So the question, of course, from a legal standpoint is this legal to do something like this, even if it's just to ask folks to sign a petition?
Yeah, and Vlad, election experts are telling us that this is absolutely not legal, that this is illegal. So you're right to be struck by it. And what makes this illegal is that this giveaway is only eligible to registered voters. So as you said, Musk offering $1 million a day here on out till the election to voters in battleground states who sign this petition. It's a pro-Trump, pro-Constitution petition. And he says you don't even have to vote. But having that money tied to the petition, having to be registered to be eligible for the giveaway, election experts telling us this is not legal. However, election law does move slow, notoriously slow, so we'll see how this is able to keep up. The governor of Pennsylvania already saying this concerns him, and he's looking into it. We've reached out to the Department of Justice and Elon Musk's super PAC, still waiting for comment from them, Vlad.
All right, Libby, Nidia, thank you both very much. Appreciate it.